Sometimes even a glamorous job is just a job. These actors made bank and built their careers on the backs of characters they really did not like, and they haven't been shy about saying so.
Though it suffered from bad reviews upon its initial release, The Sound of Music has gone on to become one of the most beloved movie musicals of all time. Families regularly gather around their televisions to watch it. The songs remain catchy, and Julie Andrews' performance as Maria is an iconic piece of work, matched only by her role as Mary Poppins. That said, one of the film's other stars has never been a fan. Christopher Plummer has spent decades reminding viewers that he never liked The Sound of Music, referring to the film as The Sound of Mucus, S&M, or simply that movie at various points over the years. In 2010, he told the Boston Globe, "I was a bit bored with the character. Although we worked hard enough to make him interesting, it was a bit like flogging a dead horse, and the subject matter is not mine. I mean, it can't appeal to every person in the world. It's not my cup of tea." Before his death in 2021, Plummer always made his thoughts on the film clear, albeit while also acknowledging that people everywhere love it. In a 2015 interview with Vanity Fair, he said, "As cynical as I always was about The Sound of Music, I do respect that it is a bit of relief from all the gunfire and car chases you see these days. It's sort of wonderfully, old-fashionedly universal." By the time the film that would be released as Star Wars came into his life, Sir Alec Guinness was already a legend, and that's why director George Lucas wanted him. The young filmmaker hoped the name and reputation of the star would bolster his film, which largely starred unknowns, and offered Sir Alec a chunk of the film's earnings in exchange. Guinness, thinking it was just another payday, took the job. Then Star Wars became A New Hope and launched the most powerful franchise in the galaxy. A lot of people involved in the production were happy about it, but Guinness was not. Yes, Star Wars made him a lot of money, but he famously couldn't stand the film itself. He refused to open any mail related to the film, and even asked George Lucas to limit future appearances of the Obi-Wan Kenobi character because he hated the dialogue.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Most famously, Guinness once told a young fan who claimed to have seen Star Wars many times that he'd only sign an autograph for him if he promised to never watch the movie again. Just about any list of the greatest sci-fi films ever made has to include Blade Runner. Ridley Scott's 1982 classic about a cop tracking rogue synthetic humans across a futuristic Los Angeles is still beloved today for its visuals, its performances, and the many mysteries buried within its story structure. Blade Runner is also remembered for overcoming so-so reviews, extensive financial turmoil, and development hurdles. It's a movie that persevered against all odds to become a cult classic.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
While frequent re-edits, re-releases, sequels, and spin-offs have kept new audiences finding the film and falling in love, star Harrison Ford apparently isn't one of them. In a 1999 interview with SF-Gate, Ford said that no matter which cut of Blade Runner he watches, he responds the same way. "I didn't like the movie one way or the other. I played a detective who did not have any detecting to do. In terms of how I related to the material, I found it very difficult. There was stuff that was going on that was really nuts." Despite these struggles, Ford eventually did return to the role of Deckard for Blade Runner 2049. Sometimes actors dislike movies they made because they didn't like the script, or they just did it for the money, or they were overwhelmed by the fame thrust upon them. Then there's Crispin Glover, who has his own very specific reasons for disliking Back to the Future.
What are you doing, George? I'm writing this down. This is good stuff. Yeah, okay.
In a 2012 interview with the AV Club, looking back on his career, Glover went into a lot of detail about why he didn't appear in either of the film's sequels as George McFly. It's complicated, and it actually helped set legal precedent. But according to Glover, a lot of it started with his own dislike of the film's ending, when Marty McFly goes back to 1985 and finds that his parents are happy, and his father is a successful and wealthy sci-fi author. For Glover, that kind of ending just sends the wrong message. He said, "I think there would be a better message if, instead of the son character pumping his fist in the air or whatever, if instead the reward was that the mother and father characters are in love with each other, and that there's the potential that money comes in. I think equating their new riches with moral success is a bad message." For Glover, the riches as reward ending of the film only further served corporate interests. Director Robert Zemeckis, however, did not seem to agree. Kate Winslet was already an accomplished young actor by the time Titanic came around, but James Cameron's film about the sinking of the legendary ocean liner made her into an international superstar. Though she's since gone on to many other roles and even won Oscars for her non-Titanic work, Winslet will forever be known in the eyes of many as the love-struck Rose, immortalized in memes and on basic cable for years to come. That said, when the time came for a Titanic 3D re-release, Winslet admitted that she actually doesn't like watching the film very much. It's not Cameron's filmmaking though, it's her own performance. She told The Telegraph, "Every single scene, I'm like, really? Really? You did it like that? Oh my god. Even my American accent, I can't listen to it, it's awful. I have a hard time watching any of my performances, but watching Titanic, I was just like, oh god, I want to do that again."
I will never let go, Jack. I'll never let go.
Love Actually is one of those films that did well when initially released, but has grown its audience by leaps and bounds in the years since. The romantic comedy anthology about various Londoners and their relationships in the weeks leading up to Christmas has become a holiday staple for many, continuing to draw new fans through annual theatrical showings and Christmas movie marathons. That doesn't mean everyone who worked on the film has to like it, however. While he acknowledges the film's impact and even agreed to return for the Red Nose Day reunion special in 2017, Andrew Lincoln has admitted in interviews that he was never too comfortable with his own place in the film as Mark, the lovesick man who professes undying affection to his best friend's wife. He told Entertainment Weekly, "In one of the most romantic movies of all time, I got to play the only guy who doesn't get the girl. The story is set up like a prism looking at all the different qualities of love. Mine was unrequited, so I got to be this weird stalker guy." In 2007, Katherine Heigl was an up-and-coming actor still working on making the big leap from TV stardom to movie fame. She got a major break in the form of Judd Apatow's Knocked Up, a comedy about the fallout from a one-night-stand pregnancy. Knocked Up was a major success, both critically and commercially, helped make Seth Rogen into a comedic star, and further cemented Apatow as one of the genre's guiding lights. For Heigl, though she enjoyed making the film, it was also an unpleasant story about an uptight woman.
Do not make fun of me. Okay, I am hormonal, I am terrified, and I am falling apart, so stop treating everything like it's a big joke.
She told Vanity Fair in 2016, "It was a little sexist. It paints the women as shrews, as humorless and uptight, and it paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. It exaggerated the characters, and I had a hard time with it on some days. 98% of the time, it was an amazing experience, but it was hard for me to love the movie." Robert Pattinson was one of several young actors who had overwhelming fame thrust upon them seemingly overnight with the original Twilight film. The Batman brought him back to franchise work, but Pattinson has proven himself to be predominantly art house-minded. He's not just a pretty face, he's a capable actor. Based on Stephenie Meyer's massively popular novels of the same name, the 5 Twilight films drew a rabid fan base to Pattinson. And while he's well aware of what the movies did for him in terms of status, he was never actually a fan of the movies themselves. In 2011, he admitted to Vanity Fair that it was weird to be kind of representing something you don't particularly like.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
Asked in a Movie Phone interview if he'd go see a Twilight film if he wasn't in them, he responded, "I would just mindlessly hate it." In the years since, however, he seems to have warmed to the films. He told USA Today in 2019, "Now the intensity has died down and it's just very warm memories." Daniel Radcliffe's life changed forever when he was cast as the title character in the Harry Potter series of films, based on J.K. Rowling's mega bestseller series of books. Radcliffe played Potter in 8 different films across an entire decade of his life, quite literally growing up on the big screen. The actor has fond memories of his time as the boy wizard, and always seems happy to share memories of making the Potter films. But there is little doubt, however, which film is his least favorite to watch. In 2014, he told the Daily Mail, "It's hard to watch a film like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince because I'm just not very good in it. I hate it. My acting is very one-note, and I can see I got complacent and what I was trying to do just didn't come across." The Help is considered by some to be among the best period dramas of the 2010s, and it earned widespread acclaim, focusing on the interpersonal relationships between black women working for white people in Jackson, Mississippi in 1963, at the height of the Civil Rights Movement. It starred Viola Davis in an Academy Award-nominated lead role. Today, it may be remembered as one of her most celebrated roles, but nevertheless, she's unhappy with the film and says she was reluctant to take the part. She told the New York Times in 2018, "I just felt that at the end of the day that it wasn't the voices of the maids that were heard. I know that if you do a movie where the whole premise is, I want to know what it feels like to work for white people and to bring up children in 1963, I want to hear how you really feel about it. I never heard that in the course of the movie."
Once I told the truth about that, I felt free.
It's likely few people would know who Megan Fox was had she not starred in Michael Bay's Transformers in 2007. The film introduced the Transformers to a new generation, and it introduced Fox to the world.
Why doesn't my little bunny just hop in the back seat?
Oh, God, I can't even tell you how much I'm not your little bunny.
In the film, Fox plays the love interest of Shia LaBeouf, who gets caught up in the earthbound adventures of Optimus Prime and crew when they show up on their doorstep. Since Transformers and its sequel brought Fox a great deal of fame, you'd think it would be at the top of her list of favorite projects. That is not the case. Fox was let go from the production of the third Transformers movie, primarily due to a falling out with Bay. She told Wonderland in 2009 that Bay was a nightmare to work with, saying, "He's like Napoleon. He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is. So he's a nightmare to work for." Following something of a public feud, Fox and Bay reconciled, even working together in the rebooted Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films. Looking back on Transformers and its sequel, Fox has said she hates her acting. She told Entertainment Weekly in 2009, "People are well aware that this is not a movie about acting. Once you realize that, it becomes almost fun because you can be in the moment and go, all right, I know that when he calls action, I'm either going to be running or screaming or both." Ryan Reynolds has starred in several high-profile superhero movies, but he only truly regrets one, Green Lantern. Intended to launch a franchise of DC Comics films, Reynolds was at the center of it all, and anticipation was high while the film was in production. Cast as Hal Jordan, the cocky test pilot who stumbles upon an alien that bestows upon him a Green Lantern power ring, the film had all the right names and story beats of the comics. But all the anticipation landed with a thud, collapsing in a brightly lit CGI mess that didn't even include a real suit. The movie did so poorly at the box office that it upended DC's plans at the time. In the years since, Reynolds has not been shy at joining in on the joke. The actor has mocked his performance and various aspects of the film on multiple occasions.
And please don't make the supersuit green. Or animated.
Reynolds doubled down in Deadpool 2 by going back in time and shooting himself in the head just as he's about to accept the role of Hal Jordan. He's gone on talk shows, appeared in commercials, and tweeted endlessly about the full scope of Green Lantern's awfulness. Reynolds told Entertainment Weekly in 2016, "It also fell victim to the process in Hollywood, which is like poster first, release date second, script last." Grease was a massive hit that turbocharged the careers of Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta, and others. The film's sequel was an often forgettable pile of celluloid, except for the fact that it gave the world one Michelle Pfeiffer. Marking her largest role to date at the time, Grease 2 revisited Rydell High School some 2 years after the previous film, this time depicting British student Michael and the object of his affections, Stephanie, the leader of a girls' gang that only allows its members to date greasers, for reasons. Grease 2 gave Pfeiffer a chance to show her stuff, singing and dancing and taking a big leap towards becoming a household name. But it is also regarded by some to be among the worst musicals of all time. She told Hollywood.com in 2014, "I hated that film with a vengeance and could not believe how bad it is. At the time, I was young and didn't know better." Pfeiffer also didn't think she'd get the part, calling her casting a total fluke. High School Musical was a massive success, and it launched the career of multiple stars, including Zac Efron. Not only was the film a hit, but it also spawned 2 sequels, and Efron starred in both of them, playing Troy Bolton to widespread popularity. Efron was a teenage heartthrob who could sing, dance, and look good doing it.
Whoa! Time out on that one.
After he put those films in his rearview mirror, Efron got to work playing more diverse roles. While musical made him a star, the way Efron sees it, his most awkward stage in life was also immortalized for generations of teens. He discussed how the role made him feel in a 2021 interview with Men's Journal and said, "I step back and look at myself, and I still want to kick that guy's ass sometimes. He's done some kind of cool things with some cool people, but I mean, he's still just that kid from High School Musical." By this point, Efron has done a pretty good job leaving Troy Bolton in his past, and he's also become a documentarian. He hosts a travel show called Down to Earth with Zac Efron, which sees him traveling the globe in search of healthy lifestyles. Bob Hoskins was an exceptional actor, lending power and presence to numerous iconic roles. But there's one iconic role that didn't work out so well. In fact, it's sometimes cited among the worst movies ever made. It was also the first video game adaptation ever put to film. Long before Chris Pratt ever said, "It's a me," Hoskins took on the role of Mario in Super Mario Bros. In 1993. His first and last name being the same in the film was the first of many mistakes made in its production. With the possible exception of the costumes for Mario and Luigi, little about the movie relates to the source material.
Aliens? Oh, we gotta deal with aliens too?
Luigi, we're the aliens!
We are? Whoa, cool!
Fans aren't the only people who hated Super Mario Bros. Hoskins absolutely loathed the film, and he never kept that disdain to himself. He told The Guardian in 2007, "The worst thing I ever did? Super Mario Bros. It was a nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own agent told them to get off the set." Dismissing them as idiots, he cited the project as his biggest regret. Matt Damon launched to superstardom with Good Will Hunting. It brought his career to new heights, and it helped him land his most iconic role, Jason Bourne. Damon first played Bourne in The Bourne Identity, and has since appeared in 3 sequels. While the movies did exceptionally well and solidified his place as a Hollywood A-lister, Damon isn't a huge fan of the third film, The Bourne Ultimatum. In an interview with GQ, he expressed his disappointment with the script, which he credited to Tony Gilroy's deal to write a single draft, take no notes or rewrites, and receive, quote, an exorbitant amount of money.
You cannot run what you did, Jason. You made yourself into who you are.
Despite pointing out the script as the reason for the film's lackluster performance, Damon doesn't hold Gilroy accountable. He explained, "I don't blame Tony for taking a boatload of money and handing in what he handed in. It's just that it was unreadable. This is a career ender. I mean, I could put this thing up on eBay and it would be game over for that dude. It's terrible. It's really embarrassing." Ultimately, the shooting script was rushed into production due to a set release date. Circa the late aughts, Sam Worthington had become Hollywood's hottest flavor, landing high-profile gigs headlining Avatar, a Terminator sequel, and a Clash of the Titans remake.
Tell him.
What?
Your journey does not end well. Fate has spoken.
Of course, Avatar became a once-in-a-generation hit, but Worthington's other 2 projects didn't quite work out as well. Titans, which put him alongside the likes of Liam Neeson, Ralph Fiennes, Gemma Arterton, Mads Mikkelsen, and other celebrated actors, did fair to middling business, ultimately failing to woo critics or audiences. The film eventually got a sequel with 2012's Wrath of the Titans, but Worthington isn't a fan of his acting in Clash. He apologized to fans in a 2010 interview with MoviePhone, admitting, "I think the first one, we kind of let down some people. I think I can act better, to be honest. Just take all the notes from the people that I've been reading about on the net and give them a movie they want." When Brad Pitt was cast opposite Tom Cruise in Anne Rice's eagerly anticipated Interview with the Vampire adaptation, many saw it as a passing of the torch. Here was Hollywood's hottest young actor matched with its biggest star. In this darkest of tales, who would shine brightest? In the eyes of some, no one. The movie made money, but according to Pitt, it was a nightmare to shoot. In a 2011 interview with Entertainment Weekly, Pitt explained how miserable he was, shooting for 6 months in the dark. On top of that, he felt his character wasn't as fully realized as he should have been. When asked if he knew what the role would be going in, Pitt replied, "No, I didn't. There was no script. I knew the book, and in the book you have this guy asking, 'Who am I?' which was probably applicable to me at that time."
You thought you could have it all.
Oh, shut up, Louis!
Explaining that he got the script 2 weeks before shooting, Pitt even tried to get out of his contract. He called producer David Geffen, a good friend of his, and asked what it would cost to break the contract. When Geffen's answer was in the neighborhood of $40 million, Pitt decided to take his vitriol and, like any good vampire, just suck it up. 2015's Terminator Genisys cast Emilia Clarke as a quasi-new Linda Hamilton in the same character of Sarah Connor. The film aimed to reboot the franchise once again, and had it been successful, Clarke would have had a cinematic vehicle for years.
Come with me if you want to live!
Unfortunately, the movie was deemed a disappointment, even if it did gross more than $440 million at the worldwide box office. Because it underperformed, the planned sequel was scrapped. Clarke spoke with Vanity Fair in 2018 about her experiences filming Genisys, noting that she'd seen the film's director Alan Taylor get eaten and chewed up on Terminator. "He was not the director I remembered. He didn't have a good time. No one had a good time." On top of that, Clarke expressed relief that she wouldn't have to make any more Terminator films. According to the actor, crew on the neighboring production of 2015's Fantastic Four reboot, another infamously troubled shoot, were spotted wearing jackets that read, "At least we're not on Terminator." In 2016, Clarke was asked about whether she'd ever return to the Terminator franchise. She replied, "No. Can I say that? It's okay. No. If you've ever wondered what the worst Batman movie was, just head into your local comic book store, conduct a poll, and you'll inevitably hear a consensus surrounding Joel Schumacher's last film in the franchise. If you happen to pass by the one-time Dark Knight himself, George Clooney, you could ask him, and he'd likely agree. When Clooney took the role, following Val Kilmer and Schumacher's Batman Forever, he was an on-the-rise TV star navigating a tricky transition to films. At the time, it was the biggest thing he had ever done, and while he recalls it as the role that helped him secure financial freedom, he nevertheless regrets it more than he does being in Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Clooney's Batman had nipples on the batsuit, a bat credit card, and dialogue corny enough to make Adam West cringe.
Let's kick some ice.
Clooney is no fan of the movie and has apologized to the fans several times. During an appearance on The Graham Norton Show in 2016, he remembered the experience as a disaster.
I always apologize for that.
Clooney went on to say that he thought he destroyed the franchise.
You know, I thought at the time this was going to be a very good career move. It wasn't.
Long before donning the Dark Knight's cowl for the DCEU, Ben Affleck was playing a different superhero for Marvel. His first foray into costume crime fighting, however, didn't receive any encore performances. Affleck played Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, in the 2003 movie, a notorious dud at the time. While the film featured notable Easter eggs for fans who had long hoped to see their hero on the silver screen, it deviated from the source enough to provoke others. Affleck's performance isn't terrible, but the movie features some bad acting, crummy dialogue, and several scenes that deserve to reside in the bottom of the discount bin at your local 99-cent store. In 2015, Affleck admitted to Entertainment Weekly that the film was a misfire, saying, "Daredevil didn't work at all. That was before people realized you can make these movies and make them well. There was a cynical sense of put a red leather outfit on a guy, have him run around, hunt some bad guys, and cash the check."
Bond. James Bond.
Ever the charmer, Sean Connery once said, "I have always hated that damned James Bond. I'd like to kill him." Connery made his debut as the British spy in 1962's Dr. No and would go on to reprise the role on 6 occasions. The last movie of his original run as the spy, who only lived twice, left him thoroughly disgruntled. Connery already felt as though he wasn't being paid handsomely enough to make up for all the amount of work and intense media attention. But when photographers followed him into a public bathroom while he was shooting on location in Japan, he decided that he'd had enough. Connery quit the role, although he also returned to it twice, once for 1971's Diamonds Are Forever and again for 1983's Never Say Never Again, which was made independently of producer Albert R. Cubby Broccoli. The two had a bitter dispute over salary and royalties, and Connery didn't even attend Broccoli's funeral. An associate of the actor once told the New York Daily News, "Sean still feels aggrieved by how he was treated by Cubby over the years. He felt that he was never well financially rewarded for his early work, and after his departure, his work was used to generate tens of millions of dollars." Sean Connery often tops polls ranking the best Bonds, but there's no doubt as to who's been the most successful in terms of box office returns. Daniel Craig's outings as 007 have pulled in giant stacks of cash worldwide, and his name is now synonymous with the character, though his overall experience with the franchise may have been less than positive. In 2015, when he was asked if he'd be interested in returning for a 5th outing, Craig didn't mince words, telling Time Out, "I'd rather break this glass and slash my wrists. I'm over it at the moment. We're done. All I want to do is move on." Craig explained that playing Bond had become a drag for him because he was expected to be smooth and smart at all times, which became a distraction for him on set. He said, "The best acting is when you're not concerned about the surface. Bond is the opposite of that. You have to be bothered about how you're looking. It's a struggle." Still, Craig admitted one thing could entice him back to the role, saying, "If I did another Bond movie, it would only be for the money." Craig's 5th Bond movie, No Time to Die, hit theaters in October 2021. Miley Cyrus still had enough love for Hannah Montana to celebrate the Disney show's 10th anniversary on social media in 2016, but she's made no secret of what playing her most famous character cost her. She once told Marie Claire, "I was told for so long what a girl is supposed to be from being on that show. I was made to look like someone that I wasn't, which probably caused some body dysmorphia because I had been made pretty every day for so long, and then when I wasn't on that show, it was like, who the f*** am I?" Playing Hannah Montana also cost Cyrus financially. She revealed during an interview with Elle that the Mouse House took advantage of her with low wages, underpaying her in the full knowledge that, as the star of the show, she deserved a lot more. She remembered, "I did not grow up spoiled in any way, I just wanted to be on TV. I mean, at one point, they'll probably kill me for saying it, I was probably the least paid person on my cast because I didn't know any better. I was just like, I can be on Disney? Yeah, I want to do it." The controversial pop star has since shot down any hopes of a Hannah Montana reboot happening in the foreseeable future. Grease 2 didn't make anywhere near as big of an impact as the original, but for actor Maxwell Caulfield, who starred as foreign exchange student Michael, it never really went away. After appearing opposite a young Michelle Pfeiffer in the sequel, the British theater actor's promising career in the film business suddenly went stagnant. He later told the Yorkshire Post, "I learned a pretty harsh lesson early on. After Grease 2, the films I'd been promised never materialized." Caulfield went on to praise Pfeiffer for taking a calculated risk with her next role, saying, "Michelle was smart. Right afterwards, she did Scarface with Al Pacino. That showed that she had range, that she was versatile. Me? Well, I was stuck for a while with a reputation as a bubblegum actor." Times got so bad for Caulfield in the years that followed that he almost quit acting on several occasions, at one point coming very close to accepting a job at a car dealership. Thankfully for him, it never came to that, but making his breakthrough in such a widely panned movie meant he'd always struggled to be taken seriously as an actor. One of the biggest criticisms that the late Marlon Brando faced during his lifetime was that he only knew how to play variations on himself, an accusation he both denied and resented. The dedicated method actor first came to the attention of casting directors while playing Stanley Kowalski in a stage production of A Streetcar Named Desire that ran for 2 years on Broadway in the late 1940s. After receiving an offer he couldn't refuse, he made the transition to moving pictures and reprised the role of Kowalski in the 1951 film adaptation of Streetcar. There seemed to be a misunderstanding of what method acting actually was at the time, and the public blurred the line between Brando's performance as the volatile Kowalski and his real-life persona. In a 2008 feature on him, The New Yorker said Brando hated Stanley and that he spoke of the character with a sense of disgust. In one interview, Brando once said, "Kowalski was always right and never afraid. He never wondered, he never doubted. His ego was very secure, and he had the kind of brutal aggressiveness that I hate. I'm afraid of it. I detest the character." Of all the actors who have reportedly hated the character that made them famous, perhaps none were unhappier than George Reeves, whose most well-known role is said to have driven him to take his own life. The classically trained actor made his credited feature film debut as one of Scarlett O'Hara's suitors in the 1939 classic Gone with the Wind, and from there he appeared to have a bright future in the industry. When he was offered the lead role in the 1952 Adventures of Superman TV series, he accepted, but refused to play the hero's alter ego Clarke Kent as the bumbling reporter of the comics, insisting that the show deal with more adult themes. The studio initially agreed, but they soon realized that their ideal target audience was children and decided to alter the show's content accordingly, much to Reeves' frustration. According to some reports, he once raised a glass to the actress playing Lois Lane at the time and said, "Here's to the bottom of the barrel, babe." It would be the last role Reeves would ever play, as he was forever typecast as the Man of Steel. In 1959, he was found on his bed with a gunshot wound to the head.